Alright, so for this video, we're going to talk about phase changes. Hopefully you've just watched the video about different phases of matter. We're going to have a little review at the beginning, but we're going to jump right into phase changes. So, first of all, as we know, matter can exist in 4 phases. We're really only concerned about 3 of them: solid, liquid, and gas. Down here at the bottom, you can see I have diagrams of each. Our solids can stand on our own. They are densely packed together, and there's not much wiggle room. Our liquids take the shape of whatever container they are in, and they have a fixed volume. Their volume does not change. And then our gases, they are always the same shape as the container. They move around really quickly, and their volume is not set. Their volume can change very easily. Alright, so what is a phase change? A phase change is pretty self-explanatory. It's when a substance changes from one phase to another. So what makes this happen? Remember, we talked about kinetic theory. So kinetic theory is this idea that all particles of matter are in constant motion. So if this is our solids, solids are in motion. They're just doing these little tiny zigzags like that. Maybe not that big one. Liquids, they move around a little bit more. You can see I'm moving around a lot. And then our gases are moving around a whole lot. So that's what they're going to look like. I don't know why those ones erased just now. That's a little bit of a better demonstration. So these are really slow. Our solids are very slow. They move just a small amount and they don't move much. So that would be low energy, slow speed. Liquids in the middle, and then gases are really fast. Also, the greater the energy, the greater the motion. But why do phase changes happen? So if particles are low energy, they're going to be a solid. Medium energy, a liquid. And a gas is high energy. What does it take to go from one to another? Well, changing the amount of energy. Changing the amount of energy changes what phase you're in, specifically heat energy. So we have 6 kinds of phase changes. We're going to go through each one, and we're going to talk a little bit about some graphs that we might use for a phase change as well. So we're going to first look at these 4. We're going to break them up into adding heat and removing heat. So melting, you're adding heat to a solid and it turns into a liquid. An ice cube melts into water. If you leave a chocolate bar in your car, it's going to melt. Boiling, then, is when a liquid becomes a gas. So if you're making pasta on the stove, you boil that water. You see boiling a lot in cooking. But we're also going to talk about it a lot in science class. There's also condensing. Condensing is when a gas turns into a liquid. So if it's really cold outside, water vapor can drop onto a solid surface, and it'll actually make water droplets. Or freezing, which is when a liquid becomes a solid. So you remove heat from a liquid and it freezes. The example I have here is water on the road freezes overnight and it turns into ice. Now it's also important that we note that heat and temperature are not the same thing. Heat is a measurement of the amount of energy an object has. So we measure that in something called joules. Temperature is a measurement of how warm a substance is. And that would be the reading on a thermometer. And remember, in science class, we're going to use Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. During a phase change, this is really important. I'm going to put a little star next to this for you guys. During a phase change, heat is added or removed, but temperature stays the same. So during a phase change, our temperature is not going to change at all, but the amount of heat is going to change. And I can demonstrate that here. This is a graph that we have. So as we're going up here, this is a solid. Right here, this horizontal line, this is a phase change. So when solids get more heat, we're going to put an M for melting and an F for freezing. So what's happening here is this solid is heating up, heating up, heating up, heating up. Right here, it starts to change phase. Now it's melting. You'll notice the temperature remains exactly the same until it finishes melting, and then it turns into a liquid. So we have our liquid now, and our liquid's going to heat up, heat up, heat up, heat up, and it's going to hit this point right here. Our liquid at this point is going to go through another phase change, and that's going to be boiling. You also might hear evaporation. That's going to be either one. It's really the same thing. So boiling, we're adding heat. And then condensing is when we remove heat, and I'm just going to put a COND because I'm trying to save some time here. Finally, that's going to keep heating up, heating up, heating up, heating up. Remember, temperature is not changing. We hit this point marked E, and there we go with one last little bit here, which is where it is a gas. So the important thing, temperature does not change during a phase change. Temperature only changes during the phases. And here you can see the labels are drawn in. So let's do a little bit of practice. We're going to identify each one of these as boiling, freezing, melting, or condensing. So water vapor from your breath hits a window and turns into water. So let's break that one down, okay? So water vapor, that's going to be a gas. And then water, we're going to be a liquid, right? So what do we call it when we have a liquid to a gas? It should be condensing. So if we go to liquid to a gas, it's condensing. Well, how about this one? Okay. So we light a candle, and liquid wax runs down the side. So we know we're ending with a liquid. Let's think. What is a candle? A candle's probably going to be a solid, because it's going to stand on its own there. So solid to liquid, it's going to be melting. Let's see. Let's just do these last two without writing. So water on a pot, so water's a liquid, on a stove, begins to bubble as steam rises out. And steam's going to be a gas. So when we go to liquid to gas, that'll be boiling. Let's put a B for boiling. And then making cream into ice cream. This one's tricky. So cream, solid, liquid. Cream's going to be a liquid. What you want to do is you want to do that flowchart we did in the phase diagram to see, does this have a specific shape, and does this have a specific volume? And then our ice cream is going to be a solid. So if we go liquid to solid, we are freezing. And there we have the answers. We did it correct. Woohoo! We're not gonna do the video. If you want to watch this video, you can follow this link. It'll take you to a pretty interesting video. It'll show you some stuff about phase changes. We're not going to do that right now. Alright, so we actually have two other kinds, and these sort of skip the step in between. So sublimation is when you go straight from a solid to a gas. This doesn't happen often, but it does happen if you get like a really, really cold or really, really hot situation. So in sublimation, it's going to be really, really hot. You have dry ice, which is solid carbon dioxide, and you put that in warm water, it's going to turn straight into CO2 gas. It's going to completely skip over the liquid phase. Carbon dioxide has a very small range where it can be a liquid, so it's going to skip right over that. Deposition is when you have a gas that turns directly into a solid. And you can see this in the wintertime. If you go out to a car in the wintertime, the cold air has moisture in it, and that moisture will hit a really, really cold window on a car, and it'll immediately freeze. It'll skip being a liquid. There won't be any water drops. It'll just go straight from moisture in the air to ice on a window, which is really pretty neat. That's going to end our video on phase changes, and I'll have some other stuff up soon.